on est dans un site qui est devenu tellement surfréquenté qu'il en est un site urbain.
Unfortunately, there are people that will go up and not respect the environment.
Dans les prochaines années, donc les conditions et les itinéraires d'alpinisme vont continuer à devenir de plus en plus dangereux.
Hello and thanks for joining us for this week's edition of France in Focus, coming to you from 1,500 metres above sea level in the French Alps. Well, this week we have our eye firmly fixed on the mountain just behind me, Mont Blanc, which at 4,808 metres is the highest mountain in all of Europe. This peak and the stunning area which surrounds it makes it one of the most visited tourist destinations on Earth. But as we're going to find out, Mont Blanc is a victim of its own success. Today, this is a mountain in peril. Well, with that in mind, the local authorities are doing what they can to ensure that the numbers of visitors are kept under control, and also to ensure that those that do come here are aware of the risks to the mountain and to themselves.
It's a top spot, quite literally, for climbing enthusiasts. Mont Blanc attracts ever more mountaineers and, more recently, amateur hikers. People like these tourists transporting a 10-metre mat, or this man wearing shorts without the right footwear. It's all pushed authorities in the commune of Saint-Gervais to impose regulations as of this summer for those looking to scale its majestic heights.
We are the trigger for all sites which are flooded with tourists. Easter Island, Barcelona, Venice, Mont Blanc, Cervin, and plenty more around the world. Of course, there will be some people who don't agree with setting limits, but we can't talk about liberty when we've got a site that's become so overcrowded, it's practically an urban area.
Some 20,000 people attempt to reach Mont Blanc's peak every year, leading to an increase in pollution, outdoor camping and overbooked lodges. As a result, seasoned climbers have welcomed the decision to implement limits.
I have run up there quite a lot, and it's so busy. I needed something to be done. Unfortunately, there are people that will go up and not respect the environment.
Now, those who want to access Mont Blanc need to secure a spot at one of the 3 alpine lodges, which accommodate a total of 214 people. And woe betide those who try to bend the rules. Regular patrols will check that visitors have permission to be there. But mountain guides find these measures too restrictive, as their work already depends on the weather.
Applying the rules of a hotel anywhere in France, or at a mountain lodge that's 3,600 metres above sea level, is a bit of a stretch. Especially in the sense that we only know our programme 2 to 3 days in advance.
Some here say the Mont Blanc should remain a free space. Indeed, taking alternative routes up the mountain from Italy or Chamonix doesn't require special permits for now, but the routes are considered dangerous for amateurs.
What you see behind me now is what's called La Mer de Glace, or the Sea of Ice, which at 11 kilometres in length is the largest glacier in all of France. But it's a glacier which for more than a century has been receding, and at an alarming rate. Well, in this case, it's not so much the numbers of visitors posing the biggest threat, it's climate change. And that's something which is having a profound effect on the region and the people that live here.
Frédéric Brehe has been a mountain guide in Chamonix for 18 years. Last year, he sounded the alarm on social media.
Bonjour, je vous parle du sommet du Mont Blanc. Voilà, j'en profite tant qu'il est encore là. Parce que c'est pas sûr que ça dure encore très longtemps. En effet, hein, tout autour, là, dans les Alpes en ce moment, les sommets s'écroulent.
Over the years, Frédéric has seen Mont Blanc transform. He's been forced to alter his mountain climbing practice as certain routes become inaccessible.
There have been big changes. I can no longer do the same hikes or ascend the same summits as I did 20 years ago. I don't go to these areas anymore because it's practically impossible. The snow has disappeared. You can't even set foot there.
It's not just mountaineers who are observing the evolution of these routes. Jacques Mouret and Pierre-Alain Duvillard are scientists. Today, they've come back here to check on their results. As part of their research, they measured the temperature 10 meters underground.
There's been a trend in the data we've been collecting here for the last 12 years or so. The measurements at this eastern site show underground temperatures have risen by 1.45 degrees over the last 10 years. Meanwhile, air temperatures have risen by 2 degrees over the last 30 years. This means the permafrost is warming twice as fast as the air at this altitude.
Permafrost refers to land that is permanently frozen beneath the surface. It's permafrost that often holds these rocky slopes together. But when it thaws, rock slides can occur, like this one on the Tour Ronde at 3,700 meters. There have been more than 500 rock slides in the Mont Blanc Massif in just the last 10 years, with dramatic consequences for mountain climbers. 4 deaths on average each year, and Jacques Mouret's predictions aren't reassuring.
We estimate in the next few years the conditions of mountaineer routes, especially in the Mont Blanc Massif, will become more dangerous and difficult during the summer season. Overall, the consensus is that good summer conditions for mountaineering will become more random and maybe even be pushed forward to spring or back to autumn. This is problematic for guides because that means mountain climbing season may no longer coincide with tourism season.
Locals must adapt, and these valley communities are well aware. They've presented a mountain climate plan that they hope to put in place as soon as possible.
We must put measures into place that produce results quickly. We must tell ski lift operators that they need to adapt and modify their operating schedules. Naturally, we must also look at access. The landscape is changing. Glaciers are melting, so we must re-examine security on the mountain at lodges, at high-altitude sites, and on hiking trails.
Unable to stop climate change, these residents are learning to live with it and to be prepared for the consequences in the future.
Well, let's go meet now the world-renowned French mountaineer Catherine Destivelle to ask her to share her experiences about climbing Mont Blanc. Catherine Destivelle, thank you very much indeed for speaking to France 24. You've climbed Mont Blanc, and I've seen a lot of your photographs. I've seen you in all sorts of terrifying-looking situations. You don't seem to be afraid of heights. Are you afraid, having just seen that report about global warming, are you afraid for the future of Mont Blanc?
Oui, les choses bougent, changent. Les glaciers reculent.
Yes, things are moving, changing. Glaciers are melting, they're becoming thinner by the day. Just looking at glaciers, you can tell that they're changing every year. It's melting faster and faster, and at the same time, the climate has always evolved. There have been times that have been warm, others very cold. I hope it will come back to what it was. I hope mankind is not to blame for this, but unfortunately, it looks like it's the case.
What do you think of the measures being taken by the authorities, limiting the number of people climbing Mont Blanc? Do you think that's enough, or do you think they should be doing more?
I think it's enough. They shouldn't do more. It's already complicated to enforce mountain regulations. It's difficult for people who just want to hike or climb a mountain to understand why such a rule exists. So far in France, there wasn't any regulation, so this came as a shock for us. I hope it will stop there.
Do you think people will take those new regulations seriously? Do you think they're likely to observe these rules?
Yes, of course. If there are rules, people will respect them. And even more so if they hand out fines. As mountain climbers, it saddens us.
We've heard criticism about a new generation of climbers, people who aren't perhaps quite as serious as they were perhaps 30 years ago or so. Have you seen a shift in attitudes by climbers?
I think today mountaineers are much more aware and respectful of nature than before. Nowadays, there's not one piece of trash on mountain paths. Everyone is careful, clean, and everyone feels concerned. I think it's much better than before.
You've climbed many of the world's great mountains. Is there anything that sets Mont Blanc apart?
Chamonix, or more precisely, the Mont Blanc Massif, is the capital of mountain climbing. Who doesn't know Chamonix in the world?
Qui ne connaît pas Chamonix dans le monde?
It's an inspiring and unique mountain.
Très inspirante et
That's why Chamonix is very famous.
Que Chamonix et le Mont Blanc sont très connus.
The Mont Blanc Massif is also the first high mountain climbed by man.
Montagne gravie.
Pioneers saw that mountain peak and thought, we need to go see what's up there. At first, they went to conduct scientific research, then for sport. Mont Blanc has always fascinated people because you can see it from all sides. It's very unique. Mountain climbing started there, so that's also why it's famous.
You've been climbing now for more than 30 years. I imagine 30 years ago it was a pretty much entirely male-dominated sport. Do you think that's changed at all over the years?
Yes, things are changing. There are more and more women, and especially women mountain guides. And education has changed. Now girls and boys are being raised the same way. When you look at rock climbing, there are as many girls than boys. Back in the day, women didn't climb mountains. Now girls and boys can enjoy the mountain, even though I find there is still a gap. But that too will change.
Well, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us. French mountaineer Catherine Destival, thank you so much. Well, that's all we have time for this week's edition of France in Focus. With Mont Blanc just behind me, this is where we leave you. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to France 24.